Wish is the latest film from Disney Animation Studios and comes to us from a lot of the same creatives behind the Frozen movies. Wish follows a young girl called Asha who lives in the land of Rosas. Their king is a man who takes wishes and grants them back to only a few select people. When Asha sees something isn't quite right, she goes on a mission to make sure everyone can get their wishes granted. Like a lot of people, I'm a big Disney fan. I mean, look behind me, I've got a Disney camera, Disney films. I'm literally wearing a Mufasa t-shirt, so on that basis alone, I was looking forward to Wish. However, the reviews did make me a bit trepidatious, but I still went in optimistic. First thing to mention is of course the animation. They do a really unique thing with the animation in this film. They do use the newer modern CG animation that Disney has been using, but they also combine that with watercolour backgrounds. And because of that, the film is visually stunning. Those combinations are excellent, and it's not that one stands out more than the other either. They blend really well, and it is insanely colourful, so this film is a visual treat. Ariana DeBose is the main character. Asha is very likeable. She has a lot of energy, she conveys the heart of the character, and overall I really like this lead character. Also, Chris Pine as the king is excellent. I never would have thought of him for the role he plays in this movie, but he is great nonetheless. And I've got to say, for kids, I think this movie is really fast paced. Excluding credits, it's not even an hour and a half, and it really does fly by. I think Wish gets off to a really solid start, especially the first act. I was engaged with the characters, I understood their motivations, and by that point in the movie, I was generally like, I don't understand these reviews. However, act by act, this film does go downhill, so I will get into my issues now. Firstly, the songs. One of the vital things Disney musicals have to have is having great music. There are two songs in Wish that I did like. There's the song that's been playing in the trailers, This Wish, which I liked, and I also enjoyed Chris Pine's big song called This Is the Thanks I Get. Apart from that, this is a pretty unmemorable soundtrack. The filmmakers chose an unconventional approach in terms of who wrote the music. Unlike the writers of a lot of other songs for Disney musicals who are musical theatre based, here the writers are a sound engineer, I believe that's just what Google said, and someone who's written music for Justin Bieber. Now, I'm not taking anything away from them, I am sure they are extremely talented. However, there are a number of songs that just don't work, because A, they're unmemorable, and B, a chunk of them just don't work in a musical. There is especially one song towards the beginning of this film that's a duet, and while individually I wouldn't call it a bad song, it more just feels like something you would hear on the radio. So the fact that the music is more miss than hit in a Disney musical is a pretty big issue, I think. I've got to say, I've always liked Alan Tudyk as a voice artist. He voices a goat called Valentino in this film, and unfortunately I did find his character to get a bit annoying. I preferred the character when he was just silent, he didn't speak. And getting back into my big issues with this movie, there are a lot of character motivations and just general narrative choices that didn't make sense to me. I'm not sure how kids would react to this. I'm not sure if they would find certain choices in this film confusing or they'd just go along with it and enjoy it. If you can't tell, I'm not a kid, so I can't speak for them. I'm not going to give anything away in case you haven't seen the trailers, but there is a choice made regarding the King character voiced by Chris Pine. This character has a change of heart, and while I totally understood his motivation initially, the way he changes really didn't work for me. It's not like a slow change. He changes like that, which just felt way too sudden and in my eyes completely derails the third act, because a lot of the third act requires you to believe that. I say believe, this is a Disney animated musical, but even with that suspension of disbelief you already have, it just didn't work. And because of that, the majority of the final portion of this movie felt lackluster. And just in general, I think Wish really struggles to capture the Disney magic. There are many times where it's trying to remind you of other things from other Disney movies, but in doing so, a compelling narrative takes a back seat. Overall, I was pretty disappointed in Wish. I wouldn't say I disliked this movie, I wouldn't even call it a bad movie. However, they're advertising this as celebrating Disney's 100th year. Unfortunately, it feels more like it's commemorating it than celebrating it. It also just feels like their main goal was to just do that and then the story comes later. I'm going to give Wish a C+. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. You guys are awesome. Blu-ray Billy, logging off.